Yo guys, what's good? How we doing today? It's your boy Ven. Welcome back to another video. All right, so the point of today's video, Warzone Season 5 is dropping tomorrow. Is going to be the last season until Modern Warfare 2. And in today's video, we're going to go over the most recent and newest settings, the best settings you could possibly have to increase your frames, have the best gameplay. Also going to go over some controller, mouse, and keyboard settings. All right, so before we get to today's video, if you guys want to show me some support, be sure to hit that like button. If you have not done so yet, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for post notifications so you don't miss another one of my videos. I also stream weekly over on Twitch, so if you guys want to catch me live, go over and hit that follow button. The link should be down in the description below. All right guys, so with all that out of the way, let's go over the updated best settings for Warzone leading into Season 5. All right guys, so the first thing we're going to go over are the graphics settings. There's two sections in this: display and quality. We're going to start with the display. So this one, I'm kind of just going to scroll down, show what I have. I've done my research on this. I've looked up a bunch of popular content creators, streamers that play Warzone on the regular. So this is what I got from looking at all of their settings, just so you guys want to know. So in terms of this section for display mode, obviously full screen, all this stuff is pretty explanatory. Make sure you have your display adapter set as your GPU. Screen refresh rate, that's whatever your monitor hertz is. Since I have a 240 hertz monitor, keep that at 240. Render resolution, also since I have a 1440p monitor, I have that at 2560 times 1440. Dynamic resolution, I have this disabled. Honestly, this one's not that important. Aspect ratio, keep that on automatic. VSync, turn that off because it can cause input delay, input lag. Custom frame rate, keep that on unlimited. You want to try and max out your frames as much as possible. Brightness, I have this on 50. I don't even remember ever adjusting this, so honestly, put brightness to whatever looks best on your monitor. And then the rest of these, the only other important one is the NVIDIA Reflex low latency. I used to keep this disabled, but I saw a couple people like Aiden, he uses this on enabled plus boost. I tried it out. I honestly don't see that much of a difference, but if anything, this just kind of helps keep your latency down. So it's only a positive. If you think it's hurting your performance, then just turn it off. All right, so next we're going to go over to the quality side. Now the FOV, this is something that it changes for every single player. I like to have mine maxed out at 120. FOV, it just helps you see like a wider range on the sides of your screen, as you can see by this like test image they put to the right. But I like to have mine at 120. A lot of pro players, pro Warzone streamers, they like to keep it at 120. I'd say anywhere between like 110 and 120 is usually a good number. Going down to the details and texture section, I'm just going to scroll down. We keep this at low, very low. Mainly you want to keep everything at low. I keep bullet impacts and sprays on enabled solely because in case, like, I don't know, this never really happens for me, but if I were to see bullet holes somewhere, it might give me a good inclination as to there might be a guy near here. But I don't see an impact on my FPS at all with this enabled or disabled, so I usually just tend to keep it on. Keep the rest of these disabled. Moving down to the post-processing effects, I keep almost all of this at off. I keep everything off just so you can maximize all your frames as much as possible. Going down to shadow and lighting, have your cache spot shadows and cache sun shadows enabled. This helps it helps your RAM not slow down, so that can help increase your frames as well, since it speeds up like rendering for future stuff. Most of the shadow and lighting things you can also keep disabled, solely because most of these things, if you turn them on, it will hurt your frames. All right guys, so next section we're going to go to is the interface section. You're going to want to go down to the system part. So this is what I like to have enabled. A lot of streamers also use this. It just helps you keep track of your latency and all that stuff. So frames, your FPS counter, you want to have that on so you can see if your frames are dropping more than they should. Server latency, you definitely want to keep that on so you can see whether if you're lagging, is it a problem on your end, or if your latency seems normal, it's definitely a server issue. Also keep packet loss on. That will be another helpful thing. If you're lagging, just being able to see that it is packet loss, that will just help you know what exactly is going on. I also like to keep my GPU temp on just in case it looks like it's overheating. I used to have a problem with overheating in the past, not so much anymore, so I just like to have that on. So next we're going to go to the audio section. Now this is totally up to your preference. I used to have my audio mix on boost high. I thought that helped me hear things the best, but honestly, after looking at other players, especially people like Joe Woe, they use boost low. And that after switching, you can hear footsteps, especially footsteps on like wooden floors. You can hear them so much better with boost low. So if you're having trouble hearing footsteps, or you think you just Want to try and switch up your audio, see if it'll help you hear better. Try boost low if you haven't. It's my new favorite audio mix. Okay guys, so this next section, this is going to be mainly for controller players. We'll go over the mouse and keyboard stuff next. But in terms of some really important controller settings you want to have enabled, or specific numbers for these settings, this is what you're going to want to try. So for your input dead zones, these are important. The lower the number, the less you have to move your analog stick for it to actually like trigger in game. So what you want to do, you want to try and get this as low of a number as possible without there being stick drift. If you have it too low and your analog sticks have drift, you will see that your camera will move in game even if you're not touching your analog stick. So a good way I like to test this, try and have it as low as possible, hop into a game, and then just set your controller down, don't even touch it, see if you have stick drift, and then just keep adjusting the number until you don't notice any drift. Your max input dead zone can just stay at 0.99. That one's not really as important. And then if we go down to the sensitivity, I don't know why this just went to 5, but horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, the standard number that most players use is 6.6. Almost every single competitive COD player uses 6.6. There are a few exceptions. Some people use 9.9. Some crackheads use like 12 plus on it, but most players use 6.6. That's the standard. So I would start at that. If you think it feels too slow, increase it. If you think it feels too fast, decrease it. Now the ADS sensitivity multiplier is something I've recently started messing around with because Aiden posted that he likes to have his at 0.85, and other streamers have been posting every once in a while that they like using the sensitivity multiplier, making it go lower. So I tried 0.85. I know other players like Diaz Biffle, he keeps his at 1, but I would try messing around with this. If you think that you're still not hitting as good of shots, especially up close, try lowering this number below 1, see if it helps you out. Turning mine to 0.85 definitely has helped me a little bit, landing shots, especially in up close gun fights. So definitely just try messing around with this number, see what feels best for you. Maybe hop into a private match first, custom lobby against bots, and try it out. Your aim response curve type, this is probably the most important setting for controller players. The standard meta aim response curve type that players are using is dynamic. It says reverse S curve mapping for fine aim rate control. And to dumb that down for dummies, it basically means that you can move your gun cursor, whatever you want to call it, while you're ADSing at someone. You can move it more freely with there being a little less like stick with the aim assist. So if you were fighting multiple people at once, if you were to say you would down somebody, you would be able to get to the next person a lot easier with less stick and all that stuff compared to if you had your aim response curve type on something like standard. So for better players, they like to have it on dynamic. If dynamic feels too hard for you to control, definitely start with standard, and then once you feel comfortable on standard, have dynamic be your end goal, because that is the meta aim response curve type. Now moving down lower, we got aim assist. Obviously keep that on standard, that is what everyone uses. Scale aim assist with FOV, I have this enabled. A lot of players have it enabled, so that's why I solely have that on. I honestly, like, I didn't notice a difference of what it looks like in game if you have it disabled or enabled, but a lot of players use enabled, so I just keep it on enabled. All right, now moving down, the last few important settings you should have on for controller. The use reload behavior, definitely have that on contextual tap. That is what everyone uses. It helps a lot with plating or picking up stuff when everything's piled on top of each other. Armor plate behavior, definitely have that on apply all. And your slide behavior, if you want to slide cancel, you need to have this on tap. I know a few random players use hold, but tap is like the meta setting for the slide behavior. It helps with slide canceling a lot. Now with the automatic sprint, I like to use the automatic tactical sprint. So that basically means if you just push your analog stick forward, you will go into a straight sprint. You don't like walk at all. A lot of pro players use this as well. The only downside to having automatic tactical sprint is if you have something like an automatic shotgun, it can kind of mess up the shots with that. But apart from that, this is like the meta setting for automatic sprint. Okay guys, so now we're moving on to the keyboard and mouse settings. Now I used to play Warzone keyboard and mouse for the first year and a half it was out, switched to controller after that. So I have some general knowledge with mouse and keyboard with this. In terms of recent knowledge, not so much. So honestly, you might want to look up another separate mouse and keyboard video if you guys are mouse and keyboard players looking for what the most recent stuff is in terms of mouse and keyboard. But from when I played on mouse and keyboard, And especially I watch a few mouse and keyboard players now. If you want to look up a really good one, look up Strafe. I'll put his channel down below in the comments. He's probably the best mouse and keyboard aimer on Warzone that I have ever seen so far. But in terms of some settings you want to pay attention to, your mouse sensitivity, that's always going to be up to your preference. You got to find something that feels good for you. Maybe try doing apps like Aim Labs or Kovacs to practice your aim training and get a good sensitivity that you like. I like using the legacy ADS mouse sensitivity mode, but honestly, that is also kind of up to your preference, whatever feels best for you. Now, ADS sensitivity multiplier, a lot of people like to lower this because it helps tracking in up-close gunfights, but Strafe and a lot of other really good mouse and keyboard players I watch, they always recommend to try and have this at 1. It will just help you keep your shots consistent, and it'll help you get more of like a physical memory in your hand instead if you keep switching this ADS sensitivity multiplier that could kind of mess up your physical memory in your hand. Always with mouse acceleration, don't have that on. Always keep that at 0. Now with some of the movement with mouse and keyboard, same thing, like I said, controller with automatic sprint. I like to have that on automatic tactical sprint. And in terms of the rest of the settings for mouse and keyboard, almost all these other settings are basically up to your preference. What keys you map your keybinds to, all of that stuff. What I really suggest, if you want to get good at mouse and keyboard aiming in Warzone, since controller is so dominant right now, definitely invest some time into doing Aim Labs or Kovacs to help get your tracking down, because practicing against bots is just not enough, especially if you want to get really consistent aim on mouse. So definitely try and invest some time into Kovacs or Aim Labs. Okay guys, so this brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you found everything I told in today's video helpful. If there are any important settings or tips that I left out or failed to mention in this video, definitely let me know down below in the comments for me and everyone else to check out. As always, I hope you guys have a dope rest of your day. Remember, stay blessed, not stressed out there. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.